Ladies and gentlemen, the one thing that I feared has come into fruition. Everything that we learned about the motivation on the massive PS4 censorship so far has been speculative at best. Sony's move to the Moral Guardian Heaven, California on their gaming division was one of the main proofs of the motivation, but we haven't really heard anything concrete aside from that one statement from Sony's Japan president and how everything was done to meet global standards, a statement that I find to be done in haste and not so genuine. And now it's pretty much confirmed, according to an article from Wall Street Journal that unfortunately was blocked by paywall, but a lot of other websites have managed to pick it up. And oh man, the revelation from this news is devastating. I do not exaggerate when I say that this highlights a very dark future ahead for the fan service video games and how all of this ties up to politics and ideology. But before we get to the news, I want to say huge thanks for liking and sharing my videos, subscribing and following me on social media, and for supporting me on Patreon, PayPal, and many other means, links down below. Also, huge thanks to Huey Long Dong, Mauricio, Kella, and Justin for the donations and the pledges. You guys are fantastic. I've been speaking out about the censorship of a lot of anime games on the PS4. You can check out more about those in detail in another video that I will link on my Medium post alongside many other sources. To put it simply, the censorship that's happening on the PS4 has been an incredibly baffling news for fans of anime fan service video games such as Senran Kagura. It's baffling in a sense that the censorship only happens in PS4, and it's only being actively censored in PS4 as confirmed by Xseed when they were told by Sony themselves to remove a lewd feature in Senran Kagura Burst Renewal, a feature that the PC version has. This has affected a lot of developers, especially Japanese developers, in a really inconvenient, time-consuming, and money-wasting way. The developers of Silverio Trinity confirm about this tedious process. Since Sony moves their PlayStation headquarters to California, the communication between the developers had to be done in English. And yes, every PS4 game will get through the inspections of Sony's new PlayStation division in California, even if you're not planning to release them in the West. So for those hoping to buy the Japanese version and hope to escape the massive censorship clutch like we used to, you are sadly out of luck. I think I've caught you up to speed. Now let's get back to this harrowing news. A spokeswoman for Sony said that they enacted their own guidelines so that creators can offer well-balanced content in their platform so that gaming does not inhibit the sound growth and development of young people. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they are actually saying think of the children. A very odd statement to make when Sony exclusives are throwing that notion out of the window. But that's not all. Apparently, there are two factors leading to Sony's brand new censorship policies. One of them is the #MeToo movement. Yes, you heard that right. And how the officials pointed out that they don't want to be associated with content that some might see as demeaning to women. Keyword some. The next reason is the rise of channels on YouTube and Twitch where gamers can stream explicit content from Japan, who traditionally have had lax standards on sexual content. So one of them is to appeal to a specific political demographic who cares about Me Too, and the other one is to make sure that Sony's name is not associated with these filthy anime games that are only made for the scourges of society we call weebs. Sony's officials also noted that the executives on the company have become concerned that their global reputation could be tarnished from sexually explicit content sold in a few markets. I think your reputation would be tarnished based on this decision alone, Sony officials, but that's just my opinion. One of the biggest concerns from the Sony executives is the content released in Japan that features near nudity and images of young women who might appear underage. So, who gets to judge who looks underage? Sony, of course. And if they see that your anime girls look young simply because they are cartoon characters, they will slam that censor hammer to you. But that's not all. We're not done yet. Do you want to hear a horror story? Get a load of this.
You don't know what they will say until you complete the work and submit it for review, said the chief executive of a small game developer in Japan. And if they are not happy, even if they allowed the same degree of sexuality a few days before, we need to take it back and ask our staff to make adjustments. That's very costly.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Sony's brand new censorship policy has forced small Japanese game developers to comply into Sony standards, and they don't care if the developers have to spend more money on changing those very minor details. They just want to make sure that children are protected from these filthy anime games. Obviously, children in this generation should buy games such as Bloodborne instead. That will protect them. This reminds me of another news concerning the producer of Senran Kagura that happened last month. Didn't he leave leave Marvelous because of recent restrictions on what kinds of sexual content that are allowed in video games? He did, didn't he? I mean, he's still the producer of Senran Kagura, but I cannot imagine how he feels when he has to deal with something straight out of Shimoneta. I cannot imagine how any other Japanese game developers feel when they had to censor their games to comply into Sony standards. Some people always say that things such as feminism and politics have ruined video games in the West. It has turned a lot of people, including game developers, to fear about having sexual content in games and how much backlash it will cause from the moral guardians in the West for merely having those sexual content at all. You might notice that games that used to be very sexually provocative, such as Mortal Kombat, has gone soft with their depictions of women as passionately reported by some individuals. If people want a good, modern example in how feminism and politics have ruined video games, this is an excellent example. It essentially proves what we have been speculating for the past few months, and that Sony does this for ideological reasons. And now we have the definitive proof for that. If people still do not believe that the current political and ideological climate has not affected video games whatsoever, hopefully this will wake people up. We are living in a time where politics have gone mental in the past couple of years, thanks to the prevalence of social media and how rapid information and fake news have spread around the globe. We are living in a time where people can be so emotionally affected by politics that they do not care about what makes things fun. They only care about their politics and spreading their ideology. Unfortunately, the ideology has spread to our video games through censorship and reduction of sexual content in the name of protecting the children and appealing to our ideological comrades. When Western game developers are so strict and censorious with their policies on sexual content, we have Japanese game developers who do not care about politics in the West at all and will develop sexual content with zero shame. Even Nintendo doesn't censor as much as the PlayStation, an era that people used to think as impossible, but here we are. Unfortunately, some people just don't want you to see the sexual content. Some people will just take that away from you because they want to fight for a noble cause that isn't really that noble at all. Ban these anime titties so we can protect women from being sexually assaulted, because Harvey Weinstein is one hell of a weeb.